Hello and welcome to The Exchange, brought to you by the New York Stock Exchange. I'm Douglas Jonas, your host. As a reminder, today's interview is for informational purposes only. The New York Stock Exchange does not recommend investments or investment strategies. I am joined today by my friend, Mamadou Abou Sarr. He is the president and co-founder of V Squared Quantitative Management. Mamadou, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Good to see you, Doug.
Now, I know we're going to talk about your new ETF. But before we get there, could you talk a little bit about your background and what it was that led you to help co-found V Squared?
So I will not go too far down the memory lane, but I've been in the market for nearly 20 years, and I'm an international financier. I've worked in Paris, London, the Middle East, and the US, and I started my career as a currency trader 20 years ago. Then I moved into the asset management industry as an equity strategist. And then I spent the last 10 years as global head of sustainable investing and product at a large US firm. Now, Doug, I never lost sight when I entered the industry on my desire to build an investment firm. And the step I had to go through were to be trained and apprentice at large firms, manage teams, run P&Ls, build platforms. And when I felt I was ready, I reached out to a friend of mine and a former partner, Abi Mudashiru. The two of us worked at HSBC back in 2008, 2007. And he was the head of Quant for Americas. And that is when we formulated the view that one day we'll come together and build a unique investment firm. And that's the beginning of V Square. So why V Square, Doug? Why did we build a firm in 2020, out of all the years, that could transform the asset management industry? Well, our impetus was the following. We always felt that as sustainability grew in popularity, the market was demanding for greater expertise and customization. So V Square is a global asset management firm headquartered in Chicago with sustainability at the core. We have two pillars now. The first one, we manage and develop portfolios that are customized, ESG focused, factor-based or thematic ETFs. And we're going to dive into the ETF shortly. So that's one of our pillars. The second pillar is around analytics. We realized that as quant, we had that ability to build systems that can help other investors understand ESG risks and opportunities, build better reporting, and also build that into their risk model. So that's what we offer at V Square.
Now, of course, your first ETF, VDNI, the V Squared US Leadership Diversity ETF, what made the business case for this to be your very first ETF?
So for me, the business case comes down to unlocking the diversity value. Our CIO wrote an interesting paper last year titled Diversity, What's in it for Investors? And as a PM, you kind of look into it in the same lens that we look at portfolio construction. Diversity and diversification have the same Latin root. They both carry value. And ultimately, it comes down to how can you enhance value for companies? How can you impact the bottom line? And there is mounting evidence that shows that diversity at the top of companies is a foreteller for company culture and also performance. So we felt that the business case was strong and multifaceted. It covers bottom line for companies, ethic values, regulatory framework, but also how you can think about transforming corporation that reflect the population and the services you are providing to the market.
So for us as investors, what should we be expecting looking forward, thinking about diversity commitments, initiatives across the markets?
I mean, the past few months, years have been fascinating. Obviously, we're in the midst of a pandemic. We've seen a lot of social unrest in the US. But for me, the key catalyst is that we move from rhetoric to action. And we've seen the regulator, the SEC here in the US, actually vetting the NASDAQ rules on board diversity. We've seen other markets following the same steps in Singapore, where the Singapore Stock Exchange also mandating climate reporting and diversity. And we see that as a major trend across the board. For me, the key word is accountability. How can we move from feel-good factor to actual action by companies? And I think the time is now. Companies are realizing that this is part of their true value. Let me give you an example. Back in 2011, only 20% of S&P 5 companies in the US were providing sustainability reporting, 20%. Fast forward 2020, 90% of the S&P 5 companies are providing an ESG reporting. Why is that? Because it does matter. it impacts bottom line, it impacts client demand, and it will be the same with diversity. Once you provide disclosure, it becomes a catalyst for change, Doug.
And you mentioned the two key words, right? Both trends and ESG. I think both of those have really come up into a lot of investors' mindset as we enter 2022. Are there key trends you're seeing in the ESG space right now?
Yeah, and I've been in the market for a while, and I've wear that kind of international hat. And so I can tell you that the past 2 years have been fascinating in terms of ETF flows. 2 record years, net flows, number of new listings, and they all point out to the main phenomenon. The retail market is asking for more ESG options, which is fantastic, but it goes in tandem with the regulator asking for more scrutiny and assessment of ESG risk and opportunities. And for me, the winners of tomorrow will be specialized ESG sponsors. Why is that? As the market is becoming more sophisticated, better understanding of the differences amongst providers, there is a need for specialty. That's where we think that our company is unique. We are built with ESG at the core, we built that expertise throughout many years, and we have that product that we think could resonate with the marketplace.
So let's talk about that. You've got this brand new ETF, VDNI, for anyone who missed the ticker symbol. Tell us about this. What are the main reasons an investor or an advisor should be thinking about this ETF?
So it's like any type of ETF. As an advisor and an investor, you think about it across your asset allocation. Right? How does it fit? Well, it fits here, number one, because it provides an all-cap US exposure. So if you think about the buckets, it's all-cap US exposure through an innovative index. That's number one. Number two is unlocking the diversity value. We spoke about it, that there is mounting evidence that shows that strong diversity at the top is the foreteller for better culture and better outperformance by companies. That's the number two. Last but not least, corporate culture is also linked with broader corporate sustainability outcomes. And VDNI provides a unique opportunity to invest in the first ETF that's focusing on diversified human capital. That's what it comes down to, diversifying human capital to the lens of both gender and ethnicity. And the ticker is VDNI.
Thank you so much, Mamadou. Really appreciate the overview. As a reminder, if you caught this episode live and you're looking for more ETF thought leadership, you can find it on our website, homeofetfs.com. That's homeofetfs.com, brought to you by the New York Stock Exchange, the home of ETFs.